press gallery overlooking the U.S. House chamber has been renamed for Frederick Douglass. Lawmakers unveiled a new plaque honoring the abolitionist. Douglass, born in slavery in Maryland, escaped and became one of the nation's most influential voices for abolition and civil rights. House leaders say the renaming recognizes his enduring impact on American democracy.
Good Day Chicago at 8 starts now.
And right now it's at 8 o'clock. Chicago police say there is a connection between two deadly carjackings that happened in different parts of the city. We are breaking down all the latest details on the victims this morning.
New DNA evidence is found near the home of Nancy Guthrie. We're heading to Arizona to talk about what this means for the case and where things stand now.
And another government shutdown means paychecks for some federal workers are in jeopardy. We are following the impact on airports amid holiday travel.
All right, speaking of, I have to tell Caitlin the story too now. Yesterday, when I was on a flight, the pilot announced what the weather was going to be in Chicago. We were flying from Florida. Everyone literally cheered because it was 60 degrees.
Yes.
They're like, yes, we're not having to come back to like some bitter cold.
You were in Florida?
Yeah. Cousin's wedding. It was
my
nice.
goodness. Was it so nice?
Orlando.
It was like 80. Yeah.
But it's nice to come back to
But
Chicago
you know
in mid-February and have it be 60 degrees.
Exactly. And guess what? People appreciate it here more.
Yeah.
People are actually
Right.
happy about the weather. They don't.
I could see that.
They don't take it, you know.
Oh, yeah.
For granted.
Oh, yeah.
Granted. Thank you. That's
Today's going to be even better than it was yesterday.
Okay.
Temperatures in the low to
Amazing.
mid 60s. I know. Everyone in the neighborhood was outside yesterday. All of us are just, you know, transparent. We need that sunshine on our skin. All right, talking about the weather, though, this morning, it's not going to be bright to start off. In fact, we have dense fog out there. Some spots dropping down to less than a quarter mile of visibility. You can see it on our visibility map. So, Aurora, you're down to less than a quarter. Same thing in Joliet. You're at a quarter mile of visibility in Morris. Northwest Indiana, I saw this dense fog myself. It's really hard to see. Valpo, under a quarter mile of visibility for you. So watch out for that fog this morning. We do have a dense fog advisory for many outside of the city until 9 a.m. You can see it here. So dense fog advisory, sure. But once the fog is gone, it's going to be a beautiful day. We've got mostly sunny skies and temperatures soaring into the 60s again. Here's our satellite radar showing the clouds in place from Chicago points north. As mentioned, we do have some fog out there, but we are going to have that clearing trend. A closer look shows the quiet conditions. DeKalb, Woodstock, Waukegan, you have cloud cover, but in the city, once this fog is gone, as mentioned, these temperatures are going to be climbing fast. 40 degrees at the lakefront and Midway, upper 30s for western areas. We'll take a look at your full forecast coming up.
Okay, Caitlin, thank you so much. Other news this morning, the search continues for a pair of carjackers responsible, police believe, for two deadly shootings.
Our Roseanne Tellez is in Lakeview, where the first incident unfolded. Roseanne.
Yes, we're at the site of a memorial that was left behind for one of the victims here. The first incident happened here in Boys Town, and then not an hour later, there was another fatal shooting in Bronzeville. The police believe the two are connected. It was February 11th, just before 4 a.m., when police say 22-year-old Darwin Tirado and another man were sitting in a vehicle here on the 700 block of West Waveland. They say that's when they were approached by a couple of men who demanded their car and property. These were armed men. And they got in the car, were taking off, and still fired shots, killing Tirado as they fled. A 38-year-old man who was also with Tirado was not hurt. Police say within the hour, Tirado's car was involved in another deadly carjacking, this one in Bronzeville at 37th Street and South Lake Park Avenue. And that's where they found a man shot in the head. As police investigate, family and friends of Tirado held that candlelight vigil over the weekend. Chef Art Smith says that Tirado's mother had worked for him for more than 20 years.
Young, bright kid, very talented. He worked for me several seasons at Reunion at Navy Pier. Very remarkable young man. Way too young for something this horrible to happen to.
Darwin didn't deserve this. Nobody deserves this. So if anybody has anything that can help us catch the people that did this, please help us. Please let us speak Darwin's name. Please let it never be forgotten. Let's get justice for Darwin, please.
And that friend was speaking on behalf of the family at that vigil that was, happened right here on Waveland. You can see some candles and flowers still left behind and some very heavy hearts because of the loss of this young man. In Lakeview this morning, Roseanne Tellez, Fox Chicago.
Roseanne, any progress in the investigation that we know of thus far?
I have reached out to police. We have not heard of any progress. We don't know if they know who they're searching for or where the investigation stands at this point.
You know, also, Roseanne, I'd like to mention, it kind of sounds like well-known Chef Smith was pretty close to the Torettos as well. Do you have more information on that?
Yes, not only did the mother work for Chef Smith, but also Darwin had worked for him at several places, the Blue Door, a Reunion over on Navy Pier. He knew him very well. You know, he knew that he was in college and working hard at these restaurants at the same time and had a bright future. So, again, a lot of heartache on the north side.
All right. Thank you so much, Roseanne, for that report. We'll catch up with you again. Now, talking about this national news developing this morning, a new message of hope from Savannah Guthrie as investigators find new evidence near the site of her mother's disappearance.
Caroline Elliott has been following this story for some time now. She joins us live from Tucson, Arizona with more on where the investigation stands. Caroline, what is the latest in terms of DNA testing, that glove that was discovered, and when we could possibly see some results here?
Yeah, Anthony, well, the next 24 hours could bring us a major breakthrough in this case, as investigators now have some of those preliminary DNA results back from a glove that was found about 2 miles away from Nancy Guthrie's home. Investigators say that glove appears to match the same glove worn by the suspect in that surveillance video. And on top of that, the FBI says the DNA profile is different. So from here, investigators will take that sample and they'll put it into a system called CODIS, which is the FBI's national database. And from there, they're going to see if they can get a hit. If we do see a match, then we could very well have some answers here in the next few hours or days to come. Anthony.
You know, Caroline, can I ask you, and you know, please let me know if you can't answer this, but this glove is such a small object in such a wide area. Do you know, were they using drones and were able to spot that glove? Or do you know any details on how they're actually able to find this piece of potential evidence?
So at this point, Gabriella, that's unclear, but we do know that glove was found on the side of the road about 2 miles away from Nancy Guthrie's home. And we will tell you, from walking in that area, this was a major dense area investigators found this glove in. It's really filled with a lot of brush, very dense brush, really hard to see your feet underneath you. So we do know investigators have spent several days searching, and about 10 days into that search, they found that glove. They then sent that to a private lab in Florida where it's undergoing a DNA analysis right now. But as we said earlier, this could be a major breakthrough in this case. If it's a match, we also will know, we have to assume that investigators are also trying to cross-reference the DNA that was found on that glove and also the DNA that was found in Nancy Guthrie's home behind us, which investigators said that also was different from Nancy's.
Okay, so as we wait for that analysis to unfold and the results, what's the Guthrie family saying, Caroline?
Yeah, so my audio is taking a little bit of a hit right now, but I believe you did ask about DNA analysis and how that process works. So again, we do know that that's put into a system called CODIS. And if that's not a match, then investigators are going to use other methods. We will tell you that CODIS is not a perfect match. It doesn't include everyone in it, but it does have everyone who has a criminal record. So we'll just give you a little bit of an example here. We know that in the Brian Kohberger case, that was a case where investigators initially did not get a match because Kohberger did not have a criminal record before then. So at that point, investigators used a more advanced method that is known as genetic genealogy. So in other words, investigators are trying to see if there's any kind of family tree there, to see if they could potentially track down an individual family member. Of course, we know that that process takes a lot longer. In Coburger's case, it took 47 days. So if there is a hit initially in this CODIS system, that's at least what the family is hoping for as of right now, because time is really of the essence here.
All right, Caroline Elliott in Tucson, Arizona for us this morning. Thank you for that update. Back here in Chicago, a man is facing charges in connection to a November shooting that happened at a Jewel location in Bronzeville. 19-year-old Elijah Theodore is charged with attempted murder. He was arrested in Phoenix last Friday. He is accused of shooting a security officer at the store on East 34th. Police say Theodore was part of a group of two people who tried to steal from the store and were confronted. The security guard and two other people were hit by gunfire.
The teenager who fought for her father's release from ICE detention has died. 16-year-old Ailia Torres passed away Friday from an aggressive form of cancer. She took to social media to bring awareness to the suffering of families affected by Operation Midway Blitz. Her father, Ruben Torres Maldonado, was picked up last October at a Home Depot. Ailia appealed to authorities to release her father, the breadwinner and caretaker of the family. His absence meant that her care would be jeopardized. A judge agreed and he was reunited with the family. She was a junior at Lakeview High School and is now an inspiration to those who hear her story.
She somehow found the strength to be able to speak for her dad, who couldn't speak for himself. So I really admire her tenacity, her courage, her selflessness, her ability to put her own physical pain to the side to speak up for her dad.
3 days before Ailia's death, she witnessed a hearing where her father won a protection from the threat of deportation, making it possible to pursue permanent residence.
The city of Aurora has marked 7 years now since the tragic mass shooting that happened at the Henry Pratt Company. A wreath-laying ceremony was held at Aurora City Hall yesterday to honor the victims. 5 people were killed when a disgruntled worker started shooting. The same shooter also wounded 5 police officers, hailed as heroes for ending his life before he could take anyone else's. The widow of one of the victims says she is thankful for the community's support.
This day carries a lot of heaviness that hasn't gotten easier to hold over the years. But I know that we're not doing it alone, and I'm reminded of that every single year when I come here.
Illinois Congressman Bill Foster has introduced a resolution in the House of Representatives to honor the victims of the Henry Pratt shooting.
The Department of Homeland Security remained shut down this morning. Lawmakers could not get a funding deal done by the holiday weekend, with Republicans largely rejecting Democrats' demands on reforms to ICE. The partial shutdown is expected to impact TSA, the Coast Guard, and FEMA, but not ICE or Customs and Border Patrol, which received billions in funding last year.
It's our expectation that we will respond to the unserious offer that Republicans have made that clearly omits things that need to happen, including but not limited to our demand that the Fourth Amendment be respected.
We're talking, but, you know, we have to protect law enforcement. ICE has done a phenomenal job. Border Patrol, we have a closed border for the first time in history. We have to protect law enforcement.
The partial shutdown may continue through the State of the Union address on February 24th. Governor Pritzker will deliver his State of the State address on Wednesday. The governor is expected to talk about President Trump's impact, particularly in Illinois. He's also expected to talk about the state's budget gap. Pritzker is running for a 3rd term, but is also viewed as a possible contender for 2028.
The Illinois primary now a little over a month away, and Fox Chicago has you covered for the primaries. Tonight at 6 o'clock, Paris Schutz is going to begin a series of debates. He's hosting them with the candidates in the top races, including the battle to replace retiring U.S. Senator Dick Durbin, the Cook County Assessor's Office, and other vacancies and openings. We have everything you need to know all in one place on our website. Go to fox32chicago.com/election. All right, it is time to check in with Caitlin. I'm excited about today's forecast.
What are we doing today?
getting outside, hopefully.
Yeah, maybe a little
Get
walk.
some steps in.
Yeah.
Steps in before a workout. Yeah.
Clean out the garage, maybe.
Oh, good idea. So spring cleaning.
Yeah, maybe you have the day off of work. That would be
Spring
perfect.
cleaning in February. I like that.
Yes, open the windows. Right. We do have the 30s returning, unfortunately, eventually. But let's talk about today first. Visibility. All right. So this morning, it's quiet, but we do have some fog that has developed, especially west of the city. 6.1 miles of visibility at the lakefront. But take a look at those bullseyes, the areas of red, where a quarter mile or less of visibility is expected when you're hitting the road in Aurora, Joliet, Morris. Very dense fog. So that's Will County, Kane, Kendall, Grundy County, also northwest Indiana. I saw some dense fog too. Right now, we're down to a quarter mile there in Valpo. It is difficult to see. Now that the skies are getting brighter, though, hopefully it is going to be easier. And also this visibility is going to be improving as that fog moves out. We still have a few clouds out there this morning, but mostly sunny skies are expected today. So it is kind of gray to start, but later on today it will be beautiful. Right now, 41 degrees at the lakefront, as well as in Gary and at O'Hare. It's 38 in Aurora, 39 in Joliet, 34 from Morris to 36 in Valpo. Here's our futurecast. So yesterday we hit 60. How about we push into the mid-60s this afternoon for a few? I do expect the low 60s for us in Chicago, but if we take a look from Midway to LaSalle, you could be around 63 or 64 degrees today. Heading on into this evening, temperatures dropping back down into the 50s. This is 7 o'clock, 56 degrees. The lakefront, so still mild for your evening walk. Now, we will take a look at that full extended forecast, including I teased how we do expect cold temperatures to return eventually. It's all ahead.
Thank you, Caitlin. All right, remember, today is the last day for the Bears coat drive. The Bears, along with Joel Osco, the Salvation Army, and Sherway Movers, are asking for your coat donations. Just drop them off at participating Joel Oscos. You've donated 19,000 coats so far. Thank you for that. So let's keep the giving spirit alive. You can find more information online at chicagobears.com/coat drive.
We have more weather coverage on the way, shaping up to be a warm one today. Here's a quick look, though, at your 7-day forecast as we head to break. We'll be right back.
What are you girls doing?
We're doing all the heating, plumbing, and electric around here.
All right, I know you girls know stuff, but let's leave it to our trusted local experts. Let's call Four Seasons.
It's about time you figured it out.
Whether it's heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, air duct cleaning, or generators, you can always trust Four Seasons.
For all the right reasons, call 866-4 Seasons.
8:19, welcome back. President Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, says a small security force will remain in Minnesota after the drawdown of immigration enforcement.
More than 1,000 agents have left the state, with hundreds more departing in the coming days, we're told. Homan says agents will also keep investigating fraud allegations and the protest that disrupted a church service. Meantime, Attorney General Pam Bondi claims that all of the Epstein files have now been released and uploaded. This comes nearly 2 months after the legal deadline laid out in the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Those files, which Bondi claims are newly released, include several hundred names she says appear in the Epstein records, along with a selection of photos, though questions do remain about whether the material is actually indeed new.
Some Rogers Park tenants continue to fight back against their landlord, and now there are claims of retaliation. The tenants have been protesting their landlord raising their rents by up to $800 per month. Some who have lived in the buildings for decades have now formed a Rogers Park Tenants Union. About 60 of them are now on a rent strike with support from the All Chicago Tenant Alliance. They say the landlord has now filed lawsuits against the striking tenants, threatening to evict them.
We are working class people. We are people that have lived in our neighborhood for 15, 20, and 30 years. Now our neighborhoods have been bought by a group of investors that are trying to evict us, and we simply do not agree. These are our neighborhoods, and no, we're not gonna leave. We want fair contracts, and we want repairs done in our apartments, and that includes new appliances.
The buildings house mostly Hispanic and Latino families. They say being evicted at this time during ICE activity is dangerous.
A new report claims that DePaul and Loyola universities are steering low-income families toward expensive loans while offering tuition breaks to students from wealthier families. The schools are among 41 private and public institutions allegedly engaging in this practice, according to a progressive think tank called New America. This report by New America claims that a high percentage of lower income families are taking out loans that they can't afford to pay back, sometimes in amounts that amount to more than their annual earnings. The report focuses on federal Parent Plus loans, which can be taken out for the total cost of attendance. But the report argues that their high fixed interest rates and high origination fees are not designed for low-income families. The report broke down the data. At Loyola, about 48% of those Parent Plus loan borrowers were parents of Pell Grant recipients, and the average amount owed $46,400. At DePaul, meantime, about 53% of the Parent Plus borrowers were parents of Pell recipients, and those families owed an average of $33,000. In a statement, a DePaul spokesperson says in part that the university is transparent with families about loan options, and ultimately families make the decision to proceed with loans as they see fit. That statement goes on to say that families taking out Federal Plus loans are required to complete loan counseling. We also did reach out to Loyola for comment. We have yet to hear back.
Well, we could see some movement this week in the Bears' push for a new stadium in Arlington Heights. Legislation that would give the Bears a long-term property tax break is set for a hearing on Thursday in Springfield. A plan to move the Arlington Heights project forward has ramped up since the Bears floated a possible move to Northwest Indiana. Sunday marked 3 years since the Bears closed on the purchase of the former Arlington Park racetrack. Meanwhile, the clock is ticking for lawmakers in Indiana to finalize an agreement for a stadium. The Senate passed a measure that would create the Northwest Indiana Stadium Authority, which would be responsible for planning and financing the project, but is yet to move through the House so they can get it to the governor's desk by the end of the month. All right. New news, Tyler Reddick is the winner of the Daytona 500 after a thrilling final lap at Daytona International Speedway.
Big day for Michael Jordan as well on this story. Reddick avoided a late wreck, then surged from third to first, coming out of turn 4, passing Chase Elliott to take the checkered flag. This is Reddick's first career Daytona 500 victory and an historic win for team owner Michael Jordan, his first Daytona 500 trophy.
I can't even believe it. Yeah, I mean, it was so gratifying. I mean, we had 4 guys that were really fighting, that was helping each other out. I mean, you never know how these races are going to end, right? It's like you just try to survive. And, I mean, we just hung in there all day. I mean, we great strategy by the team, and we gave ourselves a chance at the end. And, look, I'm ecstatic. I mean, I don't even know what to say. It feels like I won a championship, but until I get my ring, I won't even know.
And he's no stranger to the feeling of having championship rings all over his fingers. Yeah, I think he's got 6 of them from here in Chicago. Congrats to MJ and the whole squad. Good to see. All right, Caitlin, and even better.
We can congratulate ourselves.
Yeah,
on this
for
nice weather,
great
Caitlin.
weather.
Yes.
This is going to be just a treat for
Monday. Treat, a treat. Absolutely. Behind me, though, you can see it's kind of not the best looking start to our day. We do have some fog out there, but once the fog is gone, we're going to have sunshine and temperatures soaring back into the 60s. Right now, it's quiet outside of the fog. Let's take a look at our satellite radar, though, where we do have a few clouds out there, especially north of Chicago. So from Chicago points north, I should say. You can see northern Cook County, Lake McHenry County, DeKalb, Kane County with some cloud cover. South of I-88, you have mostly clear skies now, but it is going to be foggy. Northwest Indiana, western areas, Kane, Kendall, Grundy County, Will County, you have some dense fog right now. Temperatures outside, though, are in the 30s and 40s. Right now it's 41 degrees at the lakefront, 42 at O'Hare, 40 at Midway, 38 in Aurora, and 39 in Morris. Highs today reaching around 63 degrees. Yesterday was 60. Let's go past that today. 63, wonderful. Mid to upper 60s possible for southwestern areas. As we get into tonight, it will be another quiet night. Temperatures dropping down to the 30s and 40s, which I should mention today it could be a touch gusty, 25 to 30 mile per hour winds. So when you go for a jog outside this afternoon in the 60s, that breeze will keep you cool. Tomorrow, temperatures are going to be mild again. 40s expected lakeside, temperatures in the upper 50s for us in Chicago. And then we get some interesting weather to talk about. 7-day forecast does show the potential for rain. We even have a few thunderstorms possible Tuesday night. 64 Wednesday, Thursday 57 with the chance for rain. Friday 43, and then this weekend the 30s are back. It is 8:26. We have so much more ahead. Stay with us.
Got junk.
Okay, how expensive is housing these days, right? Well, some big things are happening in the 26th ward on the northwest side of the city, including the ribbon was just cut on an affordable housing facility. There's also some cool business development stuff happening in that ward. And here to tell us a little bit more is 26th Ward Alderperson Jesse Fuentes. Alderman Fuentes, thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here with you. Look, in the 26th Ward, it's no secret I represent a rapidly gentrifying neighborhood with a bulk of humble parks. So affordable housing is really important in the 26th Ward.
So let's hear about this new affordable housing that's now available. I understand you guys just cut the ribbon on
Absolutely. A beautiful building, 40 units for families right across the street from one of the largest, most beautiful parks. Families have already been leased up. The building itself, all of the apartments are filled. 400 applicants applied for that building, meaning the building only offered 10% of what the community needed.
Oh my gosh, so the demand is so great. Who qualifies for this level of housing?
So it's individuals who are lower income. There are units that rent for about $900. It depends on your family size or the average median income, but anyone that's making anywhere from $30,000 to about $75,000 a year can qualify for these apartments.
What kind of work and teamwork had to collaborate to make what we're looking at to make this happen?
Well, let me tell you, funding affordable housing is extremely expensive. We need CHA, we need the Department of Housing, we need IDA from the state, and we need the developer to come in and make sure he's bringing some private investments. This is what we call financial lasagna. Building affordable housing today is extremely expensive, but we're thankful for every agency that invested in this project to house families in Humboldt Park.
In terms of, you mentioned all the hundreds of applicants for this. What happens for the folks that weren't able to make it in? You know, supply's not exactly matching demand here.
Absolutely. Well, they remain on a waiting list. My office holds a waiting list, about 700 individuals and families that are waiting for affordable housing. It's why I am a firm advocate for affordable housing. Now, in the 26th Ward, we have about 300 more units in queue, but we still got to finance them and close the deals. But I'm committed to making sure we can house these families.
Okay, a couple other things we want to discuss before we let you go, Alderperson Fuentes. The importance of upcoming training. You're going to be hosting training sessions for local businesses. Tell me about that.
Absolutely. It's a Know Your Rights training for businesses across the ward and the city, quite frankly. Look, it's important that employers can protect their staff and their consumers in a moment in which we're seeing a ton of federal overreach violations, constitutional violations, not just in Chicago, but across this country. And we want to be able to protect our workforce. We want employers to be able to know what they can do. They can lock the door. They can ask for an attorney. They can remain silent. They can ask for a signed judicial warrant. We're going to make sure that all of our employers have the tools they need to keep people safe.
Speaking of possible government overreach here, you have a measure, and by the way, this is the alderperson that made national news. This is happened. Was it October? This incident that happened where federal agents were pursuing a constituent of yours, and yeah, this was the interaction right here. You have a measure that you're going to be introducing to City Council, some of your colleagues, later this week with regard to law enforcement overreach. Tell us about that.
That's right. I'm making an amendment to the Civilian Office of Police Accountability that ensures that that department is responsible for any investigation of local law enforcement collaborating with ICE. Now, we have the Welcoming City Ordinance. This amendment makes it clear who's the investigating body if anyone violates that. At the end of the day, we want to keep people safe. We want to ensure that people dial 911 when there's an emergency and that there's no fear that the cop that's showing up at the door is going to turn anyone over to ICE. It is what has kept our city safe. It will continue to keep our city safe, and we believe in accountability here in the city of Chicago.
Okay. I do have to ask you while you're here, this battle now in Washington, okay, the Democrats are holding out for a couple of conditions that they say are necessary, including stopping ICE from going onto any private property without a judicial warrant. Where do you stand on that? Do you support this partial government shutdown to get that parameter in place for Democrats?
I absolutely believe that it's necessary. Look, in that incident in October in the hospital where ICE grabbed me the way that they did, the individual that they took that day, they did not have a signed judicial warrant for. And we find that across cases in which, quote unquote, they are carrying out law enforcement. They're taking individuals with no criminal record. They are harassing, violating, battering, and assaulting individuals because they're coming into communities with no idea, in fact, who they're supposed to be picking up. We're watching racial profiling happen. We're watching fascism happen. And so in order to keep people safe, we need to ensure that there are signed judicial warrants so that people have their constitutional rights protected and that there is due process in this moment. We're watching all of that be sort of obliterated by this administration. And so I believe that it's absolutely necessary that there needs to be signed judicial warrants for any type of activity.
And we're following that partial government shutdown all morning and all week here on Good Day Chicago. Alderperson Fuentes, thank you so much for joining us in studio today. Really appreciate it. It's 8:35. Sending things over to Caitlin Cody. And Mike Kaplan says we are setting records today, temperature-wise.
Pushing into the 60s, records held in the upper 50s for Chicagoland today. We're starting off with fog, but the temperature, we're already in the upper 30s and low 40s. As mentioned, the 60s are coming. But for how long can we hold on to these mild temperatures? I'll let you know after the break.
Welcome back. 8:38. We just spoke to Alderperson Fuentes about this partial government shutdown happening right now. And one of their biggest demands calls for DHS officers to get judicial warrants, as we mentioned, before entering private property.
Now, as lawmakers navigate the shutdown, it's hitting air travel particularly hard, especially during this long holiday weekend that we're seeing. So Saquon joins us live at O'Hare International. Good morning, Say.
Hey, good morning to you guys. Well, these TSA workers here behind me, the ones we know to, obviously screen our items and all of our luggage before we get to our gates, they are on the clock right now and doing their jobs, knowing very well that they will not be getting paid for the time they're putting in right now. TSA, as we know, falls under the Department of Homeland Security, which means all TSA workers have been working without pay since Saturday when the funding lapse started. According to the department's contingency plan from September, about 95% 50% of TSA employees are considered essential workers, and they are required to continue working during the shutdown. If you remember last fall, though, during that record 43-day government shutdown, we saw massive impacts to air travel nationwide because TSA workers and air traffic controllers weren't getting paid, therefore naturally calling out of work. But this shutdown is a little bit different, guys. Unlike TSA, we know air traffic controllers fall under the FAA, which is part of the Department of Transportation, not Homeland Security. So they, at least, are still able to work and get their paychecks. Meanwhile, travel experts say flight delays are expected. In fact, we have seen things get a little bit worse here at O'Hare International. When we last checked in about an hour ago, we were looking at about 75 delays overall. Now that number has jumped up to 110 delays total, and we're seeing about 6 cancellations. Over at Midway, we're still seeing about 40 delays. Guys?
Okay, let's say, so this obviously the temporary shutdown impacting air travel. What else is impacted?
Yeah, we know there are several agencies that, of course, fall under the Department of Homeland Security. That includes, just to name a few, guys, we know ICE, of course, Customs and Border Patrol, but also things like U.S. Coast Guard. And we also know that FEMA could be impacted as well. And some of those, resources when it comes to these life-saving situations like natural disasters, that could also play a part. We know those workers aren't getting paid right now as we speak, but they will receive back pay when the government opens back up.
Okay, Say, with all this being said, how can travelers prepare if they have to go to the airport today in these coming days until we have a resolution with this?
Yeah, I think the same rules apply just like you would for any other travel day, right? So obviously getting to the airport on time, but maybe even earlier, just given that, there could be some flight delays today. Also, one thing that travel experts have always said when it comes to government shutdowns is make sure that you're checking into your flight before you get to the airport. I think that's one of those things a lot of people forget to do until they get here. So make sure you're checking into your flight well ahead of time so that when you get here, all you have to do is make sure that you can go through TSA and get your bags checked.
Okay, Saquon at O'Hare for us this morning. Thank you for that report. Brian Jackson joins us now, though. We're switching gears, and he's going to give us the latest on the the ongoing search for Nancy Guthrie.
Well, there are new details in the search. The FBI found a glove with DNA not far from Nancy Guthrie's home. They said it appears to match the one that was worn by the suspect that was seen on her doorbell camera video. The agency is now testing that glove for any potential matches. It has been 16 days since Nancy's disappearance. Police have not made any arrests. Over the weekend, they detained at least 4 people who were questioned and later released. The new video posted on social media, Savannah Guthrie made another plea for her mother's safe return.
We still have hope, and we still believe. And I wanted to say to whoever has her or knows where she is, that it's never too late. It is never too late to do the right thing.
The FBI has doubled its reward for any information that could lead to an arrest. That reward now stands at $100,000. Back over to you guys.
All right, thank you very much, Brian. Appreciate it. It's 8:42. Look at that view.
Ooh.
Some clouds in the sky up there, Caitlin, but it's going to be warm out, isn't it?
It is going to be warm, and those clouds are going to start to move out, too. So we have mostly sunny skies on the way. But this morning, it is quite foggy as well. So you may run into fog, especially west of the city and in northwest Indiana. But later on, as mentioned, mostly sunny skies. Temperatures in the 60s. Some of you southwest of the city could be in the mid to upper 60s. It's pretty much summer outside, okay? But it's going to be a touch gusty. So if you are going to be maybe going golfing, perhaps, the wind is going to be a factor. 25 to 30 mile per hour wind gusts are expected. There are a few rain chances expected this week, too. So we have a few changes that are happening. But a dry and cooler weekend, that's another headline, which is the unfortunate one. So temperatures outside currently, it's 41 degrees, already feeling good at the lakefront, 42 at O'Hare, 38 in Aurora, 41 in Gary, 40 in Merrillville. Here's the next 48 hours. Temperatures pushing to about 63 or 64 as our high. As mentioned, a little bit warmer even for southwestern areas. Tonight, we have fog developing again into early tomorrow. Notice temperatures are bottoming out in the upper 30s and low 40s. And then tomorrow we're back to the 50s. It's still going to be a nice day tomorrow, but mostly cloudy skies are expected. Then we have the chance for rain and a few thunderstorms early on Wednesday. And then even as we move into Thursday, Friday, the chance for some rain. And the temperatures are going down. So we do expect around 64 degrees Wednesday, but then down to 43 by Friday. And this weekend, I teased how we're going to have cooler temperatures. We could be down to about freezing as our high on Sunday. Back to you.
Thank you, Caitlin. February is a big month for women in STEM, and one organization is helping the next generation reach new heights.
Girls for Science is joining us to talk about some of the opportunities that they have for young women in Chicago. That is coming up in our next hour. Chicago. Welcome back. President Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, says a small security force will remain in Minnesota after the drawdown of immigration enforcement there.
More than 1,000 agents have left Minnesota, with hundreds more departing in the coming days. Homan says agents will keep investigating fraud allegations and the protests that disrupted a church service. Attorney General Pam Bondi claims all of the Epstein files are now released. This comes nearly 2 months after the legal deadline laid out in the Epstein Files Transparency Act. The files, which Bondi claims are newly released, include several pages of names she says appeared in the Epstein records, along with a selection of photos, though questions remain about whether the material is actually new. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is announcing a proposal that would put the pride flag back up at the Stonewall National Monument in New York City. The flag was taken down earlier this month by the Trump administration, saying it did not comply with its rules on flags. But it is flying once again at the monument after a group of elected officials raised it last week in defiance of the White House. Now Schumer says he wants to make sure it never comes down again.
I am introducing legislation to designate the pride flag as a congressionally authorized flag in America, and that means it can be flown here and everywhere else, and no one can take it down.
The Stonewall Monument stands in front of the Stonewall Inn, a bar inside of the 1969 riots that launched the gay rights movement. The monument, which is part of the National Park Service, was established by President Obama in 2016 and is the first federally designated LGBTQ+ rights movement. A bill to keep the Bears' next stadium in Illinois is up for its first hearing this week.
If it passes, the legislation would help build a stadium in Arlington Heights. The measure provides financing for infrastructure and the so-called pilot bill that will give the Bears and other major developers, the ability to negotiate property tax rates. Last week, Governor Pritzker sounded optimistic about the direction of these talks.
There's a lot of discussion, a lot of ongoing conversation with the Bears, and indeed, frankly, progress that's been made. So I'm pleased about that. But, I'm going to let the Bears talk about what it is that they want to get done and how they want to get it done.
A plan to move the Arlington Heights project forward has ramped up since the Bears floated a possible move to Northwest Indiana. A hearing on the bill is set for Thursday. Meantime, in Indiana, the clock is ticking for lawmakers there to finalize an agreement. The Senate passed a measure that creates the Northwest Indiana Stadium Authority, which would be responsible for planning and financing the project, but it has yet to move through the state house so that they can get it on the governor's desk by the end of the month. All right, it's 10 minutes till 9 o'clock. Let's check back in with Caitlin on these warm temps.
Warm temperatures, #1 headline.
Yes.
But right behind that is we've got a little bit of fog this morning, so a dense fog advisory is in place for areas outside of the city until 9, so 10 more minutes. But we still have that dense fog out there, so just maybe leave a little bit early if you have somewhere to be this morning. Temperature-wise, though, we're doing good. Already our 24-hour temperature changed compared to yesterday at this time, which yesterday was fabulous. We are 3 degrees warmer at the lakefront, 11-degree jump in Aurora, 10 degrees warmer from Morris to DeKalb compared to yesterday at this time. We do have a few clouds out there, though, especially from I-80 points north. But by this afternoon, we are going to have sunshine, mostly sunny skies. Temperatures outside right now, though, are ranging in the 30s and 40s. 36 in Valpo as our cool spot, but it's 42 already at the lakefront. Midway, O'Hare, 42 degrees, 38 in Aurora. So it is already mild. Highs today right around 63 degrees. It's going to be a touch windy with that wind coming in out of the southwest up to 25 to 30 miles per hour at times. So it could be gusty, but once the fog is gone, as mentioned, that 63 is going to look lovely. Tonight we're dropping down to about 40, so it's going to be a mild night. Southwest wind continues. We could see some fog develop again into early tomorrow. 56 degrees as our high for your Tuesday. And then Tuesday night into Wednesday, we have the chance for a few rumbles of thunder, believe it or not. Let's take a look at our future cast this afternoon, 3:30. As mentioned, quiet conditions outside of the gusty wind. Heading into tonight, again, not bad. Tomorrow, slightly cooler. Then here comes 4 p.m. on Tuesday, and our model is already bringing in some rain. We could see a few rumbles of thunder as we head into early Wednesday. On and off rain, though, is expected, especially the first part of the day Wednesday. And then in the afternoon, quiet conditions, but then we have another round of wet weather expected. Thursday afternoon into Friday morning, temperatures then start to drop. 43 on Friday. This weekend, highs only in the 30s. So enjoy this stretch of 50s and 60s in front of us. It is 8:52. We have so much more ahead. Stay with us.
subscriptions. Download today.
All right, welcome back as we take a look over the beam there. Going to be a nice warm one outside, so get out and enjoy. All right, heads up, everybody. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has issued a large recall on ground beef because that meat may be contaminated with E. coli.
So this recall affects around 23,000 pounds of ground beef produced by CS Beef Packers. Though the Food Inspection and Safety Service identified the presence of E. coli during a test, the USDA says the recalled products were intended for food service locations such as restaurants and cafeterias instead of grocery stores. So you may be in the clear. There are no reported illnesses yet from the product.
All right, here's something really cool. A ship that sunk in Lake Michigan more than 150 years ago has been found after a search that spanned nearly 60 years. The luxury steamer Lac La Belle. It was actually found in October of 2022. It was discovered about 20 miles offshore between Racine and Kenosha. The announcement, though, was delayed till now because the team wanted to be able to display a three-dimensional video model of the ship. It actually sank back in October of 1872 with 53 passengers and crew on board. 8 of those individuals died after one of the lifeboats from the ship capsized.
Okay, I love this. The NBA All-Star Game last night had a surprise guest and a viral moment. Take a look.
This intent for the early. Jokic got the deflection out of bounds. Look at Barack. Mr. President Barack Obama.
He's even cool when the ball's coming at him. No problem.
And there he is. Former President Barack Obama sat courtside along with former First Lady Michelle Obama. But that wasn't necessarily the viral moment, Anthony. A loose ball headed straight towards them, and Barack Obama caught it with a smile. He then handed the ball back to Phoenix Suns player Devin Booker, creating an unforgettable moment.
Yeah, Obama, no stranger to hoops, right? Okay, our 9 o'clock hour, Good Day Chicago starts up next, so stay with us. We'll be right back after this short break.